let's talk about a feeling that, well, I think pretty much all of us have felt. It's that feeling of being stuck. But what if you're not actually stuck at all? What if you're just in a state called static? I mean, really, does this hit home? That feeling where your wheels are just spinning in the mud, you're going nowhere. You know what you should be doing, but for some reason, you just can't. The energy, the clarity, it's just not there. So, we have a whole bunch of names for this feeling, and it's a super common experience. But here's the thing. The way we usually label it can send us down completely the wrong path for fixing it. Yeah, look at these words. Procrastination, burnout, overthinking, that total lack of focus. These are not just buzzwords, are they? For a lot of us, this is a heavy, frustrating reality. It's like you can see what you need to do, but getting there feels like trying to walk through a thick fog. Okay, so what's the typical response when we feel like this? It's almost always some version of, just push through it, try harder. But as you've probably experienced, this is a trap, and it's a trap that almost always backfires. Right? You hear it all the time. Find more discipline, make your schedule even tighter, find some new clever strategy. We try to use brute force on ourselves, believing that if we just had more willpower, everything would click into place. And that's exactly why pushing harder just makes everything worse. It's like, imagine your car is stuck in the mud. Revving the engine harder doesn't get you out, it just digs you in deeper. The resistance gets stronger, and that feeling of burnout gets a whole lot worse. So if just muscling through it isn't the answer, then what is? Well, it all starts with looking at the problem in a totally different light. This isn't about some flaw in your character. It's about your internal state. You know the story we tell ourselves, right? It's usually a pretty harsh one. I'm just lazy. I don't have enough discipline. What is wrong with me? We take this feeling of being stuck and we turn it into a deep personal failure. But what if that whole story is just wrong? This is the absolute key. It is not a character problem, it's a state problem. The issue isn't who you are, it's the physiological and emotional state that you're in at that moment. So let's actually give this state a name. Let's call it static. And a good way to think about it is like a radio signal that's just full of interference and noise. This isn't you being broken, it's just a kind of emotional distortion. It's what happens when all that internal pressure puts your nervous system into this low-grade, constant fight-or-flight mode. And when you're in that static, your mind feels incredibly loud, right? Every little thought feels super urgent and heavy. And because your nervous system is on high alert, every single action feels like you're pushing a boulder uphill. Now, to really get a handle on what this noisy static is, it helps a ton to see its polar opposite, a state we'll call clarity. Just look at the difference here. On the left, in the static state, your emotions are in the driver's seat. Your thoughts are loud and everything feels like an emergency. But over on the right, in the clarity state, your awareness is leading. Thoughts are just thoughts. They feel neutral. Decisions suddenly feel obvious, and taking action feels calm and clean, not forced. And this brings us to probably the most important point of this whole thing. The difference between these two calms is not effort, the difference is state. The person in clarity isn't necessarily trying any harder. They're just operating from a different internal place, a place where clarity is actually possible. So the next logical question is, okay, how do we get from that noisy static over to that calm clarity? What's the actual path to getting unstuck? Now this might be the biggest takeaway. You cannot think your way out of static. You can't force it, you can't strategize your way out. Why? Because you literally can't access clear thinking when your body feels like it's in danger. The very first step, always, is to shift your physiological state. And that's why the order of operations here is so critical. Most of us try to jump right to step 3, right? Take action, and we fall flat on our face. But the correct order is non-negotiable. First, you shift your state. Then, from that new, calmer place, clarity comes back online. And only then can you take action. State, then clarity, then action. And listen, this isn't just some abstract theory. For years I was convinced I just needed more discipline. But the harder I pushed, the more resistance I felt. The real game changer was when I learned to stop focusing on the action and instead focus on shifting my state first. And all of a sudden, action just stopped feeling so heavy. So just understanding this difference between static and clarity, that alone is a massive breakthrough. But it immediately brings up the next big question. Okay, we get it. We've named the problem. We understand it's a state, not some deep character flaw. We know we have to shift our state, but how? How do you actually do that? How do we escape the noise? Well, in our next explainer, we are dive right into that. We're going to break down why the usual advice, to just fight your thoughts or ignore them, actually makes the static even louder. And we'll talk about what to do instead. And hey, if any of this is resonating with you, just know you really don't have to figure all this out by yourself. There are ways to practice this shift to make it a real part of your life without all the pressure and the grind. The journey out of static is one worth taking, and we'll explore it more together next time.